Hello everyone, welcome to Techies on Wheel. Today we will discuss about one of the phases of RPA delivery lifecycle, which is the initial phase known as process discovery. So we will discuss in detail onto who all are involved in the entire process, how this entire discovery process works, like how to identify the potential process. Um, then we'll discuss about the feasibility analysis, the complexity analysis, finding the best automation candidate, along with glimpse onto what this process design document is and how does it look like, along with how we are ready for the next stage. So this is going to be a detailed video. So let's get started. Let's first have a look onto who all are the stakeholders involved in in this discovery process. So the very first one is the process owners or the clients. These are the actual people who are keen for the automation of the processes they own, and they want someone, maybe the internal RPA team or the external RPA team, to assess it whether the process is fit for automation and get started with. So the other one is the RPA COE and the managers on to whom the RPA owners or the clients reach out for the automation. The other one which comes in picture is the subject matter expert. These are the person who are actually have detailed knowledge of that process. So they help the business analyst to know more onto the process and document it. So when talking about their involvement, getting started with the process owners, like I stated, these are the people who are actual owners of the process. So they are the one who list the process and approve the potential business use cases. They are the one who review the documents prepared alongside for the discovery process and provide approval onto same, and then setting up the expectations from the automation. So the KPIs around it. Talking about the RPA COE and the managers. So these are the person who are the governing authority for the entire automation journey. And talking about their roles, they set up the industry best practices which needs to be followed by their uh, uh, in the RPA domain. So they are the one who also make sure they ensures that the team is adhering with the standards. They are the one who review the risk and compliance and provide approval around the same. Talking about the subject matter experts, they are the one who had detailed knowledge of the process. So they help the team for the process walkthrough, and then they assist BA in the documentation process of the process which is being assessed, along with providing the initial approval once the PDD is complete. So when talking about PDD, the role of business analyst comes where the business analyst take a deep dive onto the understanding of what does the actual process looks like, and then document it in the document known as PDD, which is process design document, and then get the sign off on that particular document so that we can move on to the next phase. So the other point is that the solution architect might get involved in this particular phase as well. People might say that solution architects are the one who are also a part of discovery phase. Yes, that is true. At the initial level, if the BA involved is not having good knowledge or detailed knowledge about the tool or a few basic feasibility or technical details, then in that scenario, solution architects are involved. However, talking about the current scenarios, business analysts are having a good basic knowledge onto the RPA tool and how does the feasibility looks like when automating using that tool. That is where the solution architect's involvement get minimized. However, if there are different scenarios which comes in picture, a new scenario or a kind of application that has the business analyst has no clue about, so in those scenarios, solution architects involvement might be required in the discovery phase. So now let's look onto how the discovery process looks like when talking about the flow. So it starts with identifying all the potential processes. Once we identify that at the very basic level, that yeah, these are the one which fits the basic requirement of the feasibility of the process for automation, like it should be rule based, it should be it should have minimal human intelligence intervention required. So those kind of, if some sets of rules are being set at the initial level, that is identified which all processes are the potential candidate for RP. This is where the process owners, SMEs, and BA gets involved onto to find out the entire list. Then once it is finalized, a process is picked out of this list and it is moved ahead with the feasibility analysis. This is the detailed analysis feasibility of the process for the automation to get the feasibility index out of it. We will discuss in detail in the following slides. Then once the BA finds that it's a feasible solution in aspect with automation, then it is moved forward for the complexity analysis. Again, this is not a detailed complexity analysis, I would say, but yeah, initial complexity analysis is done at this particular phase with and BA is involved into it. The other one is the design document preparation. That is again done with coordination of business analyst and the SME, which is the PDD preparation. Once the internal sign-off is provided by the SME that yeah, the solution this document looks like the one transition which or explanation SME has given to BA, this is moved forward or sent forward to the client and the COE for their approvals. COE checks that the PDD is developed, is prepared on the on the standards which has been set by the COE, and then they provide the approval on the same, and the business owners provide the approval basis the process documented, the steps documented in the PDD. Once we have the approvals, then we are ready for the next phase of the solution, which is the solution design phase. So let's see how to identify the potential process. This is the very first phase. So it can be it can be performed in two ways. One could be the manual one and the other would be the automated one. So now let's look how the manual one look like. So when we talk about manually identifying the process, like the name says, business analyst and SMEs and the client owners are involved on day-to-day basis of setting up meetings to have a process walkthrough and identifying the process which can be automated. This is a time-consuming process as this needs to be rigorous meetings needs to be scheduled basis the availability of the resources and different teams involved for that particular identification of the process. So this is quite time consuming. The other one is automated. So when I talk about the automated identification of the process, there are many different tools and mining tools which are in market today. One like Discovery Bot. There are so many which can be set up in background and the SME, whenever the SME performs their task, it captures those steps at backend to perform some validations onto the rule set to identify if this process is a good fit or not. This might be costly comparatively that in respect of the tool cost, but it can be countered with the time. If we save the time, it could be better comparatively with the cost saving as well. However, this does not require rigorous meetings to be set up, which is where lot of time is saved. And once we are confident that this process is good fit for automation, we can have a next set of level of meeting to document it in detail, or finalizing the process can be done. So these are the two sets how we can identify the potential process. Once we have identified the potential process, the next phase is we have to check the feasibility of that particular process. So for the feasibility analysis, we have a feasibility matrix. It is nothing less like an Excel sheet, which we usually refer, or it can be also a software designed or a kind of form which is designed internally onto the set of some pointers that to identify that whether the process is feasible or not. So what all these metrics involve are the information related to the process, the technical feasibility of the process, volumetric information about the process, what is the volume. So out of these these three detailed information, feasibility metrics comes up with a number. We will post a different detailed, I would say, video for the feasibility metrics understanding and how to calculate the feasibility of the process. So out of these these three particular high-level points, that what is the process, how this actually looks like, what kind of applications are being involved in this process. When I talk about technical feasibility, like the web-based application, desktop-based application, so people know that desktop and web-based applications are easy to automate comparative to the legacy or applications. or is there ICR or OCR being involved? So these kind of certain KPIs be set around to find the feasibility in the feasibility matrix to find the and the other one that is the volumetric information, that what kind of volume the bot needs to tackle, because the solutioning and would be required accordingly. So out of these three um, pointers, a rating is extracted, which is divided into high, medium, and low. So if we say the feasibility matrix has a rating as high, which means it's a very good candidate for automation, as it is very easy to automate. Next is medium, which just means that this is not much complex, or it's not like still can be doable. Automation is possible, but there would be some challenges like human in loop or something like this. And the other would be the low, which means that it's very complex, like it involves a lot of maybe fuzzy logics, maybe when we talk about the process, say first point, information related to process. So when a SME is having a discussion with the business analyst, still there are some pointers which requires a lot of human validation, human intervention. In that scenario, it becomes comparatively, of course, very less feasible for automation, as a smooth bot performance cannot be achieved. There would be a lot of manual intervention required. Similarly, if we talk about the technical feasibility, if say we are working with the handwritten documents which are not very clear or which are very blurred, so these kind of scenarios, when combined together, come up with the certain rating, and these would be the process which would be rated as low, which means it's not recommended to automate those process, as the benefit out of it would be minimal. So let's move on to the complexity analysis. So once we are through that, okay, the process is feasible for automation, we need to check how complex is that automation to be done. So if talking about the feasibility analysis, if it is a high or medium rated feasible process, we will still move ahead with the complexity analysis. However, if it is low, then depending on the KPI metrics or the ROI, we still needs to look on to, and ideally it should be avoided. But if just in case there are certain scenarios attached to it, team might have to do those automations, but not recommended. So talking about the complexity analysis, once we have a feasibility matrix, process is feasible for automation, we need to see how complex it is to develop that the bot around the same. So when we talk about complexity matrix, it is again kind of a matrix which is inputted with the help of business analyst and solution architect if required. Again, it depends what kind of process we are going to look onto for the complexity analysis. If it is simple, it is a known kind of automation, then business analyst is self-sufficient to fill this complexity matrix. What all information it has again the same kind of information which we had in the feasibility matrix. It is now just in detail to find out how many steps are related. Say if we talk about the information related to the process. So earlier we were checking that how does the steps look like, whether it is rule based or not, but now we are talking in detail that how many steps are involved in this particular process, how many clicks are being performed, how many fields we need to deal with. So these kind of information we look in detail when we talk about the complexity matrix. We will again make a different video altogether explaining onto how the complexity matrix look like, and how do we identify the complexity index out of that matrix. The other is the technical feasibility of the process. Again, it's same, the technical feasibility is the same which we looked for the feasibility analysis, but again in detail, that if say a process is only a web-based process and does not require any kind of external application integration, so those would be the technical feasibility would be comparatively better. But when we talk about the involvement of ICR, OCRs, or a Citrix-based automation, so the technical feasibility index goes higher in those scenarios, as the complexity development would be difficult, would be more time consuming in those scenarios. When we talk about the volumetric information, it is again that if the bot has to tackle a lot of volume, then the maybe solutioning needs to be redesigned or designed in the frame in a way that it handles rigorous volumes without interrupting the bot. So again, this is something out of which we derive into a complexity index, identifying whether so based on these pointers, a complexity matrix is filled, and the rating is extracted out of it. So when we talk about the rating, it is again moved, or it is divided into 3 parts, which is low, medium, and high. However, it reverses here. So if the complexity of the automation is low, which means that it's a very good candidate for automation and can be very easily automated. However, if it's medium, which means that automation is possible, but there would be few challenges like the integration of third-party tools or similar kind of scenarios. However, if the feasibility, if the complexity metrics state that the rating is high, it means that it is not a much good candidate for automation. However, if it is feasible, then it would be much time-consuming one. So again, depending on the various factors of the KPIs and ROI, this can be a decision based on the client and the COE and the managers. So based on the complexity analysis, the process standardization and development efforts are calculated. Now let's talk about finding the best automation candidate. So like I told earlier, there are 2 factors involved to it to find out altogether, combining that to whether the automation process is good fit or not. So those are the feasibility and complexity. When I talk about feasibility and complexity, it is again divided into high, medium, and low complexity. But like I told earlier, feasibility, the lower the feasibility, the higher the feasibility and lower the complexity, those are the good fit or matches for automation. So if the feasibility is high and complexity is low, in that scenario, that is going to be the best scenario, best use case. Similarly, high, medium coming for, next, and then feasibility is high and the complexity is high. Still, we can look on. We should look onto it. Similarly, if it goes with the medium. Low, medium, and medium high. However, the feasibility is low and the complexity is also low. Still, that is something which needs to be looked down to. But the metrics, these lies at the bottom. So based on both these metrics, one should decision if the process should be considered for automation or not. And just for an example, like I told, if a process is having low feasibility but high complexity, it should not be opted or prioritized for the automation, as it is going to be time consuming and not much beneficial in terms of ROI and result. So if one decisions that now the process is good fit for automation and we should move ahead with it, next come is the process design document, where this entire process needs to be documented. And this would be the one which business analysts prepare with the help of SMEs. And they captured the detail of each and every step in this PDD. So what all informations are required when I talk about it? Includes information such as what could be the trigger of the process. Is it a mail which comes, then the process needs to be done? Or is it something, a time frame, like at 4 o'clock, I need to run this report? So those kind of triggers could be provided here, or certain file or folder dependency or something like this. So what could be the trigger that needs to be documented? Then the main process flow or the alternate flow, that how the process look like. And if in case this doesn't happen, what is going to be the alternate way of performing that particular process? If we have the recordings of the sessions that the BA had while discussing the process with the SME, those recordings and those links should be there in the PDD. Next is the list of exceptions and error that needs to be handled. These could be the known exceptions and error which might have been experienced in past by the SMEs. So those all or known exceptions should be listed, or something kind of that if certain scenario doesn't happen, what needs to be done, what should be done in those scenarios. Should an email be sent, or it should be logged somewhere? How do we need to handle it? So those things needs to be mentioned in PDD. The next is the screenshot of the process. So when we talk about the screenshot of the process and pre-identified business rules, these both run side in side. Like once we put the screenshot of one screen, in the other side, we need to mention that what all steps we need to perform from scratch. And this is on the keystroke level. So all these needs to be included in PDD. And this is where the PDD, detailed PDD is very important, because this is going to be the base for the automation going ahead. The developer will prefer PDD only for automation. And like I said, PDD are the base for rest of automation stages, and hence it becomes most important document in the entire, I would say, in the entire process RPA lifecycle, as PDD is the base. And if base is only not strong, base is incomplete or inaccurate, this might require revisiting of solution, and that is going to be time consuming. So once we have a PDD ready, we are ready for the next stage. So once PDD is ready and verified by SME, it has to be shared with client and COE for their approvals. Post PDD review, then only the automation could be initiated. So any changes and alternation once the PDD is approved is going to be considered as change request and needs to be documented in the change request, in the change management, whatever the change management process the organization is following. This might require revisiting of solution and additional effort. So it is recommended that PDD is verified and approved, reviewed properly, just to avoid any change request in future, as it might require increased development effort, and similarly the timelines might get impacted for the delivery. So post PDD is approved, team is ready for the process design phase. This was all about the process discovery phase. So in the next video, we will talk about the solution designing phase in detail. But till then, take care, stay healthy, keep learning, and keep growing. Thank you, everyone.